Hey everyone, Kane here. Many people have asked for it, however, to explain this in full, the video may be pretty long, so I will try to split it in segments and also have the times of each topic in the description. First, before we get into the emblem stuff, I just have to add this. Because there is a huge difference here between the Chinese and the global version of this game. In Chinese, a few strong or rather overpowered emblems were pay-locked, so you could not get them very easy. In global, these few strong ones are not paywalled, and you can get them for free. Or rather, you need one of the two resources, either diamonds or soulstones. So first of all, you need to understand that global, in a sense, caters more to the players than the two other versions of the game. I will later, in the future, make all the differences between the two so people can see what has changed thus far. So past the explanation here, let's get into the emblems. Starting with the events without spending diamonds and also dismantling the emblems you get for free, I believe someone rounded up that you are able to get one orange emblem per 2 or so weeks. Just from the dailies and the rankings, 1 per 2 weeks seems kinda like a small upgrade. However, I personally think you should not rush this too much. What you can do is just rush a set of 4 or perhaps 6 on your main damage dealer and make sure that the set of 4 or 6 is good enough to be put on other units, so you can use it for specific PvE content. All emblems can be removed and placed on other units, so going for the right ones may score you higher rankings in PvP content and also securing you some decent rankings in PvE ones as well. To explain which emblems are the best or rather better, it's pretty hard to say because it depends when the people will be watching this video. For the moment, in our particular stage in the game on the global server, the Anger emblem that gives a lot of attack bonuses and also plus 4 to the ultimate skill of the unit that it's equipped on can, in a sense, overpower most damage dealing units. By overpower, I mean something like a green dragon with a level 19 ultimate, which will trigger twice in about 15 seconds in the game if you're using Dragon Mutair. Most, if not all 9x units, even on a stronger opponent, will just be wiped off the screen. But the question remains, why is it so good? The thing is, every damaging skill has a base damage that it scales off of, and every level of the skill increases that damage. It is also low-key affected by the attack number of your unit. The higher the level of the skill, the more base damage that skill will have, and the more base damage it has, the more hero stats like hero attack, enemy hero defense, holy emblem attack, holy emblem defense, unit damage, enemy unit damage reduction, and so on will affect it. To show an example, we will talk about one of my units named Devil. We know that in the past, in one of the events, they have teased his awakening, as well as us having the translated version prior to that. That Devil Awakening will make the Devil do 200% skill damage. That scales per each ultimate used. Or rather, that is what I do believe it means. When the skill says 200 damage of the previous skill, then it means that it is a scaling ultimate. At our current stage in the game, the 4 levels of having a complete anger set adds me about 10,000 additional skill damage, plus about 1,500 overtime damage that would trigger 12 more times. Keep in mind guys, this is an area of effect damage. meaning that anything inside the effect will take the damage. So if you have a 9x and a 4x in the same spot, this damage will be triggered on each unit of the squad. So in this case, 13 squad units will receive this damage because it's 9 plus 4. Now, to avoid huge calculations and get you more confused, I have added all of those numbers from Devil's skill, and that skill alone would sum up to about 2.4 million damage without being affected by any other values. So it depends on the enemy hero stats and your stats whether this number will be higher or lower. Now, if I would take off the Anger Emblem set, that would only add up to about 2 million damage to those 13 squad units. So in this case, you have a total of 400,000 additional base damage that will be affected by all the other stuff. And if we use the Devil's Awakening as a further example, the next Painful Reaper of the ultimate skill of the Devil will do to 100% the damage of the previous skill, and I'm not entirely sure if it will double the overtime damage. However, it will most likely double the base high damage amount, which will also scale with more ultimates cast. So at the current given moment in our state of the game, I can highly say that the Anger is the best emblem for Inferno users on Devil or any Devil users in general. To further my statement here, many people do know that in the early stages of the games, it is not the percentages that perform insanely good, it is the base damage of the skills that do scale. So at this moment, Anger is one of the better damage dealing emblems, but in the future, I'm not entirely sure how far in the future, the emblems with 5% unit damage plus 15% unit damage to specific targets under the buffs will outperform the Anger one. All because when you see my Devil have 277,000 power and 326,000 attack, Chinese players have about 3 million plus attack on Devils, if I remember correctly. So this Devil here is basically 10% of what the future is looking like. So when people are looking at emblems, you need to be sure what you want, whether what is good in the current moment or better later. I would say the two best emblems currently, as I would still deem this sort of an early game compared to the amounts of health and attack that the Chinese players do have, would be Anger, that gives plus 4 to ultimate skill, and also the effects of the set of 2 and the set of 6 will provide attack bonuses, as well as the second emblem called Everlasting Secret, which would give you the plus 2 skill levels to all the skills that you have, which would in turn be 8 skill levels as a total, but only 2 of them on the ultimate. This is a must for most support units, for example Angel, Genie, and so on. I do not think that it is too valuable on damage dealing units, as most or rather core of the damage is done by either the ultimate or the basic attacks. For the distant future, the emblems with 5% unit damage plus 15% unit damage to the targets under the effects of bleed, burn, slow, and stun, as well as jealousy, which has a percentage chance to trigger when your units do critical hit on the basic attack, which would increase the damage of the critical strike itself. So these 5 will most likely be on your top damage dealers in the far or rather very distant future. It is very hard to specifically say offensive units should use these, casters should use these, and so on, because every unit is special in his own way. Thus the same sets will not work on, let's say, Giant that I use on the Devil, and so on. Because emblems are a very huge diamond or money sink for some of you, you need to prioritize upgrading your damage dealing unit emblems rather than upgrade your entire team. What this means is you can unlock the sets of 4 or 6 on your main team, but do not plus 1 or plus 2 the emblems on, let's say, a support unit like Genie, but rather upgrade all emblems to plus 3 on your main damage dealer after you unlock the sets of 4 or 6 on your units in the main formation. Thus far, we have only been talking about the skills of the sets of 2, 4, and 6, and so on. However, each emblem has its own status effects, and that is where you can say what emblems are complete garbage or godlike level overpowered. We shall use one of the anger emblems on my devil as an example that we will speak about. Before we start, we need to realize that devil is a damage dealing unit. He does not need any status effects that would increase his tankiness, but we need status effects that would increase his damage. If any of your tanks would die, devil will most likely die anyway, so tankiness stats here are pretty worthless. That aside, we see 2 yellowish stats on the emblem. From what I know and have seen, there will always be 2 of these, and there are 4 different types. They are Holy Emblem Defense, Holy Emblem Attack, Attack Amplification, and HP Amplification. Now, from what I have seen and tested, the Attack Amplification 1% is better than 8% attack that the emblem has just below this. From what I can see, is that attack amplification most likely takes the whole attack number that the devil has now and adds a bit less than 1% of the total attack, or close to that, whereas just the attack percentage mostly adds from the base value of the devil, and the base value is hidden from our eyes. The word basic that we see here is not the base value that I am talking about, if any of you have wondered, because this value here gets affected by the devil's equipment, levels, and so on. The value we are looking for is only the attack that the devil has from leveling up, and nothing else. And I do assume that the attack percentage would only scale from that. At least this is just my 2 cents on that. And the value is not that big for the numbers to scale off of, so that 1% attack amplification will be better than 4% attack on your emblem. So also that aside, looking at the yellowish effects, one of these is pretty useless on my devil, as I do not need the Holy Emblem Defense on a damage dealing unit. I would prefer a Holy Emblem Attack plus 1% attack amplification on the yellowish stats. Moving below these, we see Attack, Magic Resistance, and Attack. Most of our orange emblems will only have 3 of these. However, you can in fact get very lucky and unlock a 4th one, a bonus effect. So for example, if you are very lucky, you can have 4% attack 4 times on an emblem like this. But if I were you, I would buy a lottery ticket straight after. And again, since my devil is a damage dealer, 2 of these effects increase my devil's damage, whereas one of them, magic resistance, increases the defensive stats, or so I would like to call them. So out of 5 effects on this emblem, 2 are pretty useless on a damage dealing unit. The perfect emblem should be as follows: attack amplification, holy emblem attack, and anything of these few effects like attack, crit, attack speed. If you land on an emblem that would give you only these stats, That is close to a perfect damage dealing emblem and should not be used as a material to upgrade others. The same goes for tanks is what I mentioned above, but instead of attack stats on a damage dealing unit, you want defensive stats for a defensive unit. So in this case, it would be health percent amplification, holy emblem defense, and the below stats would either be defense, HP, magic resistance, damage reflection, or tenacity. If you by any chance want to know what any of these stats mean that I have mentioned above, go to your unit page, open up the level up tab on the right, and click this brown circle with the letter I for information on advanced stats. And in here you will be able to read what each stat or effect does in the game. So after 10 minutes or more of rambling about this, I perhaps made you all even more confused. But in short, diamonds is worth spending only to get a set of 4 or 6 on your main damage dealing units, but not sinking all of them into this. Your aim is to get orange sets of 4 at least on most of your units in the main formation. And look at the stats that they have. Your core damage dealing units, in my case, Devil and Green Dragon, perhaps Efreeti sometimes, should have mostly damage dealing effects on all emblems, plus a good set of emblems to increase either their overall damage or unit skill levels. For me currently, skill levels pose a better value than just the base damage percentage bonuses. If you still may be confused about the emblems, do write in the comments down below or private message me on Discord so I could help you out. Now I have made a comment on YouTube asking people what units they want me to cover in this video, and suggest what emblems they would need on specific units. The only ones that people did mention are Efreeti, Ogre, Naga, Angel, and Bone Dragon, so there is not much to go through. Starting from Efreeti, personally I am getting another set of anger emblems for Efreeti, but this time only a set of 4 for him. So I could get plus 4 skill levels on Efreeti on his ultimate. With Flame Feaster Awaken skill, Efreeti does a shit ton of damage, like a lot. In quite a few matches he became MVP with having Green Dragon in the same line against 4 squads on the enemy line, with me even using Dragon Muter, which is quite hard to outdamage Green Dragon or Devil, but Efreeti with a set of Anger and level 19 ultimate skill managed to do that, so this is my go-to choice for the time being. Super OP since Flame Feaster is already a pretty much broken skill on him. Ogre, since he is a tank and a buffer, he has to go a whole different route out of all the emblems. I would suggest only 3 for him. Either the Queen's Blessing, which would increase his defense by 100% first time he falls below 35% health, or Everlasting Secret if you want to go more for the buffer route. He would, I believe, be a little bit tankier with this as well, but not so much. Or the third, Successor's Legal Principles. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but this seems like a pretty goddamn OP emblem for tanks. It has health percent, holy emblem defense as the set bonuses, both of them increasing your tankiness as it is, but the set of 4 also adds you 10% more defense and additionally adds a high amount of tenacity. Tenacity is a stat that reduces the chances of your unit getting critical hitted from an enemy. So less criticals on your tank, a lot less damage it would take from an enemy, since critical hit is nearly double the damage of what it would usually take. It depends which route you want to go for your tank really, but any of these 3 should be useful. Naga, for the current moment in global, I am not entirely sure which one is better. Because I personally do not use a Naga, I would assume that the magic awakening that Naga has scales from the Blade Dance ultimate skill. So Form to ultimate from the Anger Emblem would pretty much increase her base trigger damage by a very huge amount. However, the Everlasting Secret plus 2 to all skills would increase all skills plus 2, so her self buff skills would also increase, as would her critical value, and so on. I personally would value Anger more because her ultimate would be activated through Magic Awakening. However, to make my point clearer, I decided to go on the Chinese servers and see what they were using on theirs. And they were pretty split with two sets. Either the Anger to plus 4 ultimate because of Astral's Magic Awakenings, or Jealousy, which has 40% chance if Naga would have a critical hit to do 50% more damage, which in a sense sounds quite strong because Naga increases her critical with her passive skills. So it is understandable, and it's two different ways that this unit is played. Either Astral Magic Awakenings or unit basic attacks to do more damage. Angel is not really a damage dealer and is mostly a support unit, helping the entire team, healing, reviving, and so on. I would strongly suggest Everlasting Secret plus 2 to all skill levels. There is not much more to it, plus 2 to all skills is strong on Angel, as it would provide more heals, more health on revive, and then a little more damage on the passive and his trigger. Bone Dragon, I am not entirely sure on this one either. Until his awakening hits, he does not look like he does a lot of damage during my tests. He is like a field-wide debuffer, and if in the right formation or synergies, then he would excel well. I have checked the Chinese Bone Dragons, and they do have both awakenings unlocked on this particular unit. So the meta on these can change with every awakening. These Bone Dragons in China use Ancient Fire Emblem, which does more damage to the units on the ground, those that are not flying, if to be more precise. So it is constant 12% more damage increase without any variations of getting or losing such buffs. Seems like a decent choice for stable damage dealing, but I'm not too sure if that unit itself does a lot of damage to me. In my opinion, it acts more like a debuffer on the entire enemy field at this very moment. So plus 2 to all skills would increase all the debuffing skills as well as his damage skills. That would make him do a little bit more damage. It would not necessarily make it better than the Ancient Fire, as the percentage damage increases would outscale everything in the future. But at the moment, I would kind of assume the Everlasting Secret top tier emblem by far on very many units. Anyways guys, that's it for this video. It's probably like 20 to 25 minutes long. I did warn people. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.